Scientists like Dr. Bruce Lipton, who study epigenetics, he wrote The Biology of Belief. They say that even our genes, our DNA, can shift when we change our habits of thoughts and behavior. This means 90% of our happiness set point can be changed by changing our old habits. I say, hallelujah. That is great news because there are some specific habits that when you change those, you will raise your happiness set point.
Hi, and welcome to Beyond Empty Nest. I'm your host, Jody Silverman, speaker, mentor, and Chief Dare Officer at Moms Who Dare. Every Thursday, I'll share stories of midlife transformation, happiness tips, and dare you to see the opportunities waiting for you so that you can make this next chapter even better than the last. If you're ready to dare, I'm ready to dare with you. Let's get into today's episode. Is it really possible to be happy for no reason? And here's what else I get asked. And Jody, what does being happy for no reason even mean? Well, I set out to find those exact answers, and I did. Today, you get to discover the answer as well. You're in for a real treat because today on Beyond Empty Nest is my happy for no reason trainer and mentor, Marci Shimoff. Marci is not just my mentor. She's a #1 New York Times best-selling author, a world-renowned transformational teacher, and an expert on happiness, success, and unconditional love. Her New York Times best-selling books, Happy for No Reason, Love for No Reason, and 6 titles in the Chicken Soup for the Woman's Soul series have sold more than 16 million copies. She's also a featured teacher in The Secret. She currently co-leads a global online program called Your Year of Miracles to help people live a more miraculous life. Marci, welcome to Beyond Empty Nest.
I'm so happy to get to be here with you, Jody. I love everything that you do. I'm so proud of having you as a Happy for No Reason certified trainer, and you are a ray of sunshine in the world.
Oh, well, back at you. And thank you. So I feel very grateful to be sitting here and to be able to share you with my audience. Listen, everybody knows I believe in visualization, manifesting. Here you go. It's working. So I want to also add that I'm also part of your Year of Miracles program. And I truly find it hard to put into words how it is changing my life and making an impact. And, maybe you'll come back another time for a chat about miracles and how everyone listening can live a more miraculous life.
Totally happy to do that. That would be a joy.
Awesome. But for today, we're going to talk about how to be happy for no reason. And before we dive into the conversation, Marci, would you just start off by answering that question? Like, what does happy for no reason really, what does it mean?
So my definition of happy for no reason is an inner state of peace and well-being that doesn't depend on our circumstances. So most people are chasing after what I call happy for good reason. I'm going to be happy because I'll be happy when, or I'll be happier when I get a better job, when I make more money, when I get married, or when I get divorced, or whatever it is. And I think it's wonderful to be happy for reasons. But if you base your happiness on those reasons, it's very shaky because the minute those reasons go away, there goes your happiness. So what I'm talking about is this much stronger foundation and inner foundation of peace and well-being. And it doesn't mean that you're not walking around 24/7 with a silly grin on your face. You're not in some Pollyanna state of denial. Somebody dies, you're going to experience sadness or grief. You can still experience anger and frustration. But amidst all of that, there is a backdrop of peace and well-being that helps you be more resilient to move through everything more quickly.
Yeah, and I love that. And I love that. And the reason it resonated so deeply with me when I spoke to a person, another happy for no reason certified trainer. And when I was telling her how I was feeling, she said, you have to get the book. Because I always felt I had that resilience in me to, hold sadness and joy in the same space. that even in moments where we had so much loss, I still could feel like that backdrop, like it's the backdrop that my happiness was still there. So I love that definition, inner state of peace and well-being, not determined by your circumstance, not dependent upon your circumstances. Love that.
A simple analogy is to think of there's the ocean, there's the bottom of the ocean. It's infinite, it's steady, it's calm, and then there's waves on the surface. The waves on the surface don't impact the core, the baseline, the floor of the ocean. So we are that unshakable state.
Oh, I love that analogy. Okay, and also, so with the state of being happy for no reason, there is something that I learned from you called a happiness set point. It's about how we can actually raise our current level of happiness. So can you talk into that?
Absolutely. Let me just, if I may, tell a little quick story that will explain the set point. So I was born depressed. I was an unhappy camper, came out of the womb with existential angst. And and I now believe that I had perhaps ancestral trauma that I was carrying in my cells. I don't know why. I had a great family, everything was great, but I just had this dark cloud around me from the time I was young. And my solution to being unhappy was, sugar. It was the only thing that made me feel good. I would eat a lot of sugar, and that didn't end up working out very well. By the time I was in high school, I was a sugar addict who was about 35 or 40 pounds overweight, not helpful. So, when I got to be in my 20s, Jody, I decided, like most people do, I'm gonna set goals for myself, and once I reach those goals, then I'll be happy. And I set 5 goals for myself. I wanted to have a successful career helping people. I wanted to have wonderful friends, a fabulous husband or life partner, a comfortable home, and the equivalent of Halle Berry's body.
Oh,
Now I got 4 out of the 5. I do not have Halle Berry's body, but I have a healthy body for which I'm grateful. And I work really hard to get all my ducks in a row like most people do. Once I get these things, then I'll be happy. And I had a turning point moment. In 1998, I had 3 books in the top 5 on the New York Times bestseller list. I just had finished giving a speech to 8,000 people, and I had autographed 5,432 books. I felt like an author rock star. And yet, I went up to my hotel room after autographing that last book, and I went over to the big, beautiful view of Lake Michigan. I was in Chicago, and I took that in on top of the world, and I turned around and I collapsed onto the bed and I burst into tears. And I burst into tears because I realized that I worked so hard to get all those things. I had them, and I still felt that deep emptiness inside. And I could no longer fool myself into thinking just that next thing, then I'd really finally be happy. So I dove into the happiness research, and I really found this key that you just spoke about, which is the happiness set point. And it shifted everything for me. And that is that we each have a happiness set point. It's like a thermostat setting. And no matter what happens to us, whether it's good or bad, we will tend to hover around our thermostat setting unless we do something to change that setting. Well, there I was. No matter how much good stuff was happening, I would always return eventually to that low happiness set point. So I said, well, I got to change my happiness set point. And I started learning what are the ways to change your happiness set point, because that really is the key to the whole thing. And once you raise your happiness set point, then life changes.
no, and because that's when because I'm thinking, I it's like I'm going through my training again. I love this because that's when you really can reach and grow that inner state of peace and well-being when you raise that
Yeah,
set.
the set point is the key to all of it. And
Yeah,
and let me just explain a little about the set point. So,
yeah, sure.
our happiness set point, the scientists have researched this, it's 50% genetic. So you're born with that piece. I was not born with great genetics, but don't despair if you're someone like me, because 10% of your set point is your circumstances. And I want you to notice how tiny a piece of that pie that is. We're all busy trying to fix those circumstances like I had done. It didn't really matter that much. The other 40% is our habits of thoughts and behavior. And that's specifically what we can do to raise our happiness set point. But I'm going to take it a step further and say that 50% that was genetic Scientists like Dr. Bruce Lipton, who study epigenetics, he wrote The Biology of Belief. They say that even our genes, our DNA, can shift when we change our habits of thoughts and behavior. This means 90% of our happiness set point can be changed by changing our old habits. I say, hallelujah. That is great news because there are some specific habits that when you change those, you will raise your happiness set point.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that. Okay. So there's habits. And do you want to share one?
Yes. So what I found is that out of all the research I did, that there are 21 main happiness habits. And that's a lot for people to take in, 21 happiness habits. So I looked at all of them and I saw that they fall into 7 main categories. And I created an analogy. I call it building your inner home for happiness. And it's got 7 components to it, just like a house does. So this is your inner home, but a house has a foundation, 4 corner pillars, a roof, and a garden. And here's how this relates to the 7 main areas that your happiness habits will fall into. And as I go through these, I want people to listen for where are you the weakest? Because that's your own Achilles heel. And that's where, if you start there, you'll have the greatest growth. And so, Jody, I know you know all of this because you're one of my trainers, but I'm going to ask you after we go through these 7 main areas where you feel like you are the weakest. Okay. So, for our inner home for happiness, we've got the foundation. And the foundation means taking responsibility for your happiness. That means not being a victim in life. Victim, you're a victim when you blame, shame, or complain. Blame others for what's going on in your life and why you feel bad. Shame, which is blaming yourself. Oh, I'm such a horrible person. No wonder I'm unhappy. Complain is complaining about everything else outside of you. It's not you. The weather's sucky or the economy's bad or whatever. So if you're stuck in blame, shame, or complain, you cannot be happy. So that's the first step, is taking responsibility for your happiness. Then there's the 4 pillars. The first is the pillar of the mind. That has to do with your thoughts. Do you have happiness robbing thoughts? Do your thoughts drain your happiness? Then there's the pillar of the heart. Do you live with an open heart? I have never met a happy person who had a closed heart. Never.
Yeah.
So open hearted means, are you generous? Are you kind? Are you forgiving? Are you compassionate with yourself and others? So those are all open-hearted qualities. Then there is the pillar of the body. Do you have the biochemistry of happiness? Do you have enough of the happy chemicals, serotonin and melatonin and oxytocin and dopamine? So this, by the way, was where I was low. And this was my Achilles heel. And then there's the pillar of the soul. The soul is, do you feel connected to a bigger energy in the universe? Do you feel like you are part of a greater whole? And then there's the roof of your home for happiness, which is about your passion or purpose in life. Are you living an inspired life? And then finally, there's the garden. And the garden is, who do you surround yourself with? Do you surround yourself with people who are on your side, cheering you on, believing in you, the roses and gardenias of life? Or are you surrounded by people who drag you down? Perhaps people who might be more toxic. I call them the weeds. So those are your 7 areas. So Jody, where are you the weakest?
So it's interesting because I've done a lot of work. I've done a lot of work and a lot of growth. But if I had to pick one, I would go towards the health. I've made huge growth in that pillar. And yet I still see a little wobbliness there. So I would go for the health. I would go for the health.
And I said that was mine as well. And what that means is that I didn't naturally have a high happiness set point. I had to work on the biochemistry of happiness. I didn't have a lot of serotonin. And let me just give one simple, quick
Yeah, go
technique
ahead.
for
Well,
people
no,
who
no.
want to. Serotonin, one of the main happiness chemicals. And there are natural ways that you can build your serotonin. And one of them was taught to me by a man named Gilles Marin, who he's a song master. It's a form of qigong, and it's quite simple but powerful. So here's what you do: you go out in the sun, and I'll tell you what to do if there's no sun around, and you face your head towards the sun. Here's most important: close your eyes. Don't do it with your eyes open. With your eyes closed, you face the sun and you allow the sun's rays to come in through your closed eyelids and go into your head. And in the center of your head is the pineal gland. And you allow the warmth of the sun's rays to come in through your closed eyelids and go in through to the pineal gland. So you're just feeling it and you're allowing it to wash, to light up your pineal gland, which governs the happiness chemicals like serotonin. And then you allow that feeling, that yummy feeling, to flow through your whole body. If you do this for a couple of minutes a day, maybe twice a day, 2, 3 minutes twice a day for a week, you will change your serotonin levels. You will shift your serotonin levels, something that simple. Now, if you happen to be somewhere where there isn't sun, you can, a secondary technique is to just do this looking at something that's beautiful in nature. So nature will also do this, looking out at some trees or looking at some flowers, just really absorbing that beauty of nature.
Oh, I love it. It's simple, it's accessible, and it's doable. Thank you. Thank you.
That's the thing, Jody. Simple, consistent baby steps is what changes our happiness at point. People think it's got to be this life changing, I've got to change everything. No, you start with one or two simple little things. You do those consistently. You take those baby steps. And then once those are a habit, you do a couple of other things and you just keep building like that.
Absolutely. That's how we make big start. And they sometimes they'll snowball into other areas of your life. So by default, you're affecting more than just that one area of your life that you set out to affect. So it's great. Awesome.
Totally, totally true.
Here. All right. So I want to shift a little bit because a lot of our audience, a lot of the women listening are experiencing loneliness or emptiness because
Yeah.
the transition of empty nest that happens in midlife. A lot of empty nest moms listen to our show. And we all know it in midlife, there's so much joy and so much opportunity and fun to be had in midlife. But there's also, some pain and heartache and emptiness. So I know that you have a powerful process to help us open up our heart. And this, I'm
Yes.
learning a lot about the heart in the Year of Miracles program, a lot about opening up the heart. But I know you mentioned a powerful process to open up the heart to help dissolve pain, heartache, emptiness. Will you share that with everybody?
I will, but we get to do it together. So
Okay.
all of us can do this. It's not great to just hear me doing it. You want to experience, unless you're driving, you don't want to do it if you're driving. So this is called the inner ease technique. And I learned it from a group called the Institute of Heart Math. They're the world's leading researchers on happiness and the heart. They've actually found that when we're angry, frustrated, or upset for just 5 minutes, it can weaken our immune system for up to 6 hours. We go into what's called heart rhythm incoherence, where our heart rhythm's getting very, very incoherent. But when we are feeling love and gratitude for just 5 minutes, it strengthens our immune system for up to 6 hours. We go into heart rhythm coherence, these beautiful coherent heart waves. So we're just going to do 2 minutes, but I want everybody to notice how you feel different after just a couple of minutes of doing this. All right. So you can do this with your eyes opened or closed, but for the first time, if you're able to, I invite us all to close our eyes and I'll close mine too. I'd like you to, just with your eyes closed, the first step is to simply place the palm of your hand on your heart. The simple act of putting your hand on your heart starts the flow of a chemical called oxytocin. And oxytocin is known as the love hormone because it's what we feel more of when we feel bonded and connected to each other. But just the act of putting your hand on your heart right now is stimulating your own connection to yourself, self love. Now, the second step is to imagine that you are breathing in and out through the center of your heart so that you're inhaling into your heart and you're exhaling out of your heart. And I invite you to do that at your own pace. And when you inhale in through your heart, you can still inhale all the way down to your belly if you want, of course. But just imagine that the inhale is coming in through your heart and down to the belly, and then out through the heart. This is called heart focused breathing. And you may already be feeling a shift from just that. And now the third and final step is on each in breath, I want you to imagine that you're breathing in love, ease, and compassion. So each inhale, you are breathing in love, ease, and compassion in through your heart. Exhale, you exhale through your heart. Every inhale, breathing in love, ease, and compassion. You can think of a time when you felt that. You can think of somebody or something that brings that about in you. It could be a four-legged even. Or you can just say the words internally to yourself, love, ease, and compassion. It doesn't matter. Just breathing into your heart, whatever allows you to feel the most love, ease, and compassion. And exhaling out of your heart. And one more deep breath in, breathing in love, ease, and compassion. And on the next exhale, you can slowly take your hands away. And when you feel ready, you can slowly open your eyes. So that was just a couple of minutes. And I just want everyone to notice right now how you feel different than you did just a couple minutes ago. You might feel different physically, you might feel different emotionally. So, Jody, you're my guinea pig here. How do you feel any different?
I feel calmer, more
Hmm.
at peace. I don't know why it always amazes me because I do know this. Our breath, the breath is so powerful, but when you combine it with, the heart and focusing on your heart, it just brings me a sense of peace and calm. Like, yeah, and a little smile. I
Yeah.
felt myself smiling a little bit through it. So
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. And different people have different experiences. Some people feel tingling in their hands and feet.
Yeah.
Some people feel like this warmth in their heart. Some people just feel grounded or, like you said, at
I just feel
peace,
slowing down of myself
slowing
by being,
down.
yeah, that's,
Well, all of
that's
these are signs of something that's being called now by science, the love response. Years and years ago, decades ago, science coined the term the stress response. And we certainly all know what that feels like. You're late for a meeting and you're stuck in traffic and you
oh
are in the
yes.
stress. Well, the love response has its own distinct brain patterns, heart rhythms, and biochemistry. So that's what we want to develop more of. Here's the thing: doing that once, just a nice experience, won't really create change. Here's what will create change: do it a couple times a day for a week or two. You'll start to habituate yourself going into the love response.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So yes, so these are all great practice. I know this to be true because I do practice them. I don't practice all 21 all the time. Like you said, I pick one that I most
Right.
that week. I sit and I ask them, what is it that I'm feeling this week? And then I go and I figure it out. So that's a great practice. All right, we're gonna leave one more practice. We're gonna offer one more approach from you.
Okay.
Dealing with negativity. So there's negativity in your mind, in your relationships, in the environment.
Yes.
Pick one practice, one of those happiness tools that you think
Yeah.
that our audience can put into practice for one of them or all of them, whichever one you want.
Great. Great, great, great. Let's talk about negativity in the mind because it's so common, right?
Yes.
Um, you know, we so often don't talk very nicely to ourselves, and it's just very deeply embedded. Research has shown that the average person has 60,000 thoughts a day, and for the average person, 80% of them are negative.
I
It's
know.
called the negativity bias. We inherited this tendency from our caveman ancestors who needed to remember the negatives in order to survive. We no longer need that tendency, but yet we're stuck with this negative bias. So, like, if you get 10 compliments in a day and one criticism, What do you remember at the end of the day? What do you talk about at the dinner table? That criticism, right?
Yep.
So happy people have learned to develop new neural pathways for happiness in the brain. All has to do with the neural pathways in the brain. So I'm going to give you a three-step process that is scientifically validated for creating new happiness neural pathways in the brain. And the first step is be on the lookout for the good. There
Hmm.
is a lot of good stuff out there. As a matter of fact, we get billions. I think it was like 11 billion bits of information comes our way every second. We only process a very small fraction of it,
Hmm.
and we notice what we tend to look for. So if you have a habit of negativity, you're going to see the negativity out there. So we're going to retrain ourselves to be on the lookout for the positive. One of the people I interviewed for Happy for No Reason pretends that she's the Academy Awards committee, and her job is to give out 5 Academy Awards a day.
I
So
love
she'll
that.
give out an Academy Award. She'll see somebody doing an act of kindness. Oh, that gets the kindest act of the day award. Or there's a cute little dog on a walk, and she'll go, that gets the cutest dog of the day award. So try to give out 5 Academy Awards, even in just your mind
Yeah.
during the day. The second step is to savor the good. Once you've found it, savor it for at least 20 seconds. We notice something good and we just, oh, there's a nice sunset. And you look away. It takes 20 seconds for the good to register enough in the brain to create new neural pathways. So really savor it, take it in. Oh, what a beautiful sunset. Let this really land in me for 20 seconds. And then number 3 is go for a 3-to-1 ratio.
Yep.
3 positives for every 1 negative. And so, the negative thoughts are gonna show up. Don't beat yourself up for that. That's just adding insult to injury. But when they do, be on the lookout. What can 3 things I can substitute for that and savor it?
Love it. Oh, so there are so many good tips and tools and happiness strategies here. And all of these are the practices that can help raise your happiness set point so that you can come back to this and achieve that happy for no reason inner state of peace and well-being. It all ties together. So I love this. I love all of it. So there was the bathing in the sun,
Stunning
closing your eyes, let the sun,
stunning meditation.
sunning
Yep,
meditation. There was a heart breath work.
yep.
And there is the look for the good, savor for 20 seconds, and the 3-to-1 ratio. And with looking for the good, maybe given a few Academy Awards along the way. I love it. And we'll put all of this in the show notes. We'll make sure. And if you wanted to see us, you know, doing this meditation, and we're also on YouTube, so you can check it out visually too. And you can actually, you'll feel it. I like the videos because I like to feel like I'm meeting the guests. So we're over on YouTube too, everybody. So don't forget. So if you really want to see Marci, go over to YouTube. All right. So that was a lot we covered. I also know in the show notes, you're giving everybody listening access to the Happy for No Reason workbook, which you want to tell them what's in there?
Sure. So the Happy for No Reason workbook has all 21 of the happiness habits. So if you want to know what the other happiness habits are, they're all in there and each one has an exercise or a process with it. So some of the things we talked about today are in there as well. And there's an assessment to see where you stand, where you are on the Happy for No Reason continuum, along with some really great happiness quotes. So
Absolutely download that. That's a great, super valuable gift, a life gift. And then, of course, Marcy, nobody gets out of the Zoom Beyond Empty Nest recording without daring our audience to do something, because at the core of everything we do is my fun play on stepping out of your comfort zone and trying and doing new things. And so, what is your dare for the audience today?
yeah, my dare is to ask yourself tonight before you go to sleep, what's the most important thing for me to do tomorrow for me? And then wake up tomorrow morning and honor that. We are so used to listening to everybody else and what everybody else needs. You even brought it up earlier today, Jody. And now what we need to do is also say, what's something I need? Listen to your soul, listen to your heart, and honor the answer. Do it. A little bit of really, really tuning in and honoring yourself will go
I,
along.
I love that dare. That's an important dare because we can get caught up in the doing first, but asking ourselves and really listening to the answer of what it is that I need. and then taking action on that. So thank you. And I can't thank you enough, Marci, for being part of this show, for being part of my life. Changed my life, can change yours too. Go Google, find all her books. Everything's in the show notes. So thank you, Marci, from the bottom of my heart.
Oh, Jody, thank you because you truly are. I love you're one of the Happy for No Reason ambassadors in the world, really
Thank you.
spreading this and the work that you're doing and who you serve and what you do with this podcast is all such a great gift to everyone. So I love getting to be with you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And listen, everybody, you know what I say at the end of every show. You know what our goal is to have you just take away one thing, one tip, one strategy, one quote, one aha moment from each of our dynamic and inspiring guests. So what is it for you that you heard today from Marci? What is that one thing that made you nod your head or say, oh, yes, now I see? Share it with us. Let us know in reviews on YouTube. Drop us a comment. I'll make sure whatever your review or your comment is that I share that with Marci immediately. And also your reviews, they help share with other women what our show is all about and help to reach more women, which is the goal of this show. So let us know. We want to know. We want to cheer you on. Take the dare, celebrate your wins. And as I always say, dare on. Thank you for listening to this episode of Beyond Empty Nest. Head over to jodysilverman.com for our full show notes, more information, and additional resources to support you through empty nest and midlife. And if you've enjoyed today's show and are ready to embrace this midlife chapter, then you must take the Happy for No Reason quiz. When you take the quiz, you'll discover what your happiness set point is and how you can increase it and continue to strengthen it. This is just one key to navigating life transitions and discovering your most fulfilled and daring life. So go ahead, click the link below and take the quiz now. I'll see you next Thursday. Dare on.